All right, let's jump right into this explainer. I want to transport you back to a muddy, incredibly unforgiving medieval world, but you aren't a knight, you're not a merchant, or a noble. You are about to inherit the absolute most despised job in the entire city. You, my friend, are the new executioner. I want you to imagine the pure sensory overload for a second. The air smells of rain, stale ale, and copper. The cold, heavy weight of the executioner's sword is suddenly thrust into your trembling hands. You're standing up there on a wooden scaffold. It's your very first day of work, and you are surrounded by a roaring, impatient crowd. Can you feel the sheer terror of what you're about to do? Because here's the thing. You didn't apply for this job. You inherited it. This isn't some career choice you made. In places like Germany and France, society has literally trapped you in this bloodline. Simply because your father was the executioner, you must be the executioner. No one else is ever going to hire you for a normal trade, and honestly, no one outside your grim little circle will even marry you.
Section 1. The inheritance of shame.
The absolute social death you experience right out of the gate is striking. You are physically marked by society. In some towns, you're forced to live on the extreme fringes. We're talking right next to public latrines, leprotoriums, or brothels. Your house might even be painted a highly distinctive yellow, so everyone knows to just stay away. And the stigma goes so deep that local bakers literally bake your bread upside down and mark it with a cross so it doesn't accidentally mix with the food of respectable citizens. You can't even enter churches or bathhouses. And here is the ultimate twisted paradox of your new life. Crowds were heavily invited, and frankly expected, to participate in judicial punishment. You are utterly rejected by this society, treated as entirely unclean and untouchable, yet you are absolutely essential to their public spectacles. You maintain their law and order. Basically, they despise you, but they literally cannot function without you. Section 2. A gruesome education. So, to prepare for this nightmare, your own father must systematically harden you against human empathy. The steps to become an executioner might sound kind of clinical, but the reality is unbelievably visceral. To make sure you don't freeze up on that scaffold, you undergo this deeply psychological apprenticeship. First, you just watch. Then you learn to master the heavy, really complex instruments of the trade. Next, you spend hours upon hours practicing your sword swings on animal carcasses. And finally, after years of this dark conditioning, you strike your first human blow. It is a grueling, exhausting process to strip away your hesitation. But here's a crucial point. You aren't just a brute or a butcher. Remember this phrase, infection ruined confessions. You actually have to learn anatomy and sanitation. If you're handling tortures to extract a confession, that prisoner has to survive long enough to actually face trial. You learn the precise, terrifying limits of human endurance. Which brings us to a really strict professional boundary you have to master. There's a distinct difference between the torturer, who extracts truth through calculated pain, and the executioner, who delivers the final, fatal justice. As an apprentice, you are trained to carefully negotiate between sanctioned coercion and ultimate retribution. You have to know exactly when to apply pressure and exactly when to end it. And the horrific reality of aristocratic punishments really illustrates this. You aren't just swinging a sword all day. For high treason, you have to learn how to wrap condemned nobles in freshly tanned ox hides before they are drawn, meaning dragged, by horses through the filthy, muddy streets to the gallows. It's this agonizing process designed for maximum public humiliation, and you are the one orchestrating the whole thing. Section 3. The War of the Crowd. Okay, let's fast forward to performance day because the unbearable psychological pressure here is insane. Up on that scaffold, the real danger isn't actually the bound criminal. It's the audience. Consider the ticking clock on execution day. At dawn, the convict is drawn through the streets. At noon, the spectacle happens on the scaffold. By dusk, you are moving the body. You are walking a tightrope, and the agonizing dread builds with every passing hour as you prepare to face a volatile mob that expects flawless, lethal theater. Which leads us to a truly terrifying question. What happens if your blade misses? Take a second to really think about that. Because if you botch the execution, if you cause undue suffering or somehow fail to sever the head cleanly, the crowd will turn on you instantly. It was not unheard of for an angry mob to storm the scaffold and literally tear an incompetent executioner apart right on the spot. 3, that is the absolute maximum number of sword swings you are allowed by law in places like Germany. If you take more than 3 strikes to behead a victim, you are legally condemned to die in the criminal's place. The stakes for perfection are literally life and death. Now put yourself back in that market square. Imagine this sensory overload. Blaring trumpets, the ringing of town bells, the jeers and shouts of thousands of screaming spectators. Amidst all this absolute chaos, with your own life on the line, you have to maintain a cold, unshakable composure to land that perfect strike.
Section 4. The healer and the killer.
This is probably my favorite part of this whole explainer because it completely shatters the Hollywood myth. The contrast in your lifetime ledger is staggering. You might perform 394 executions, sure, but you might also successfully heal 15,000 patients. To survive, and because you know so much about anatomy, you actually act as the town's primary physician and healer way more often than you act as its killer. And your daily grind? It isn't just standing menacingly with an axe. When you aren't on the scaffold, you are the ultimate undertaker and medic for the city's unwanted messes. You're clearing out animal carcasses, taxing lepers, cleaning public latrines, setting broken bones. It's super mundane, exhausting work that keeps you deeply tied to the underbelly of medieval life. But how do you actually justify the violence you do inflict? Well, you're taught a very strange moral justification. It goes like this. The Christian authorities subjected wrongdoers to gruesome punishments so that they could attain eternal life. You were basically led to believe that by inflicting pain, you're actually helping to purify the sinner's soul for the afterlife. It's a dark framework, but it's what helps you sleep at night. Section 5. The Master's Piece. In the grim aftermath of executing aristocratic traitors, your job isn't over. You literally dismantle their bodies, cutting them into 4 pieces to serve as physical testaments of the king's justice. These quarters are then distributed to 4 different cities across the realm. It's a pretty gruesome warning to any would-be rebels. But listen, through all this blood, all this total isolation, you have one single ultimate goal: an emperor's pardon. Just like the famous executioner Franz Schmidt did, after a lifetime of flawless, stoic professionalism, your only hope is to petition the highest authority to restore your family's honor. Why? So that your children can finally escape the blade and just live normal lives. The axe may have brought death, but it also carried the heavy weight of isolation. I think this beautifully summarizes your emotional journey. From a terrified apprentice forced into the trade, you take on this immense, unseen burden of enforcing society's darkest laws. You live as a despised outcast so that the rest of society can feel safe and civilized. Which leaves us with a final, chilling question. If a society requires a monster to maintain its peace, who carries the greater sin? The executioner or the crowd demanding the blood? Thank you for exploring this dark corner of history with me. I really hope this explainer leaves you with a lot to think about. Catch you next time.